Ya Allah, forgive all our deceased, forgive all those who are living. Ya Allah, forgive us all. Ya Allah, we are gathered here for the burial of our brother Graveside. Ya Allah, accept him into your mercy. Ya Allah, elevate his ranks.
Ameen.
Ya Allah, accept all his good deeds.
Ameen.
And overlook all his misdeeds that he may have committed or mistakes he may have made. Ya Allah, you are Sattar al-Uyub, you are the one who hides his mistakes. Just as you hid his mistakes in the dunya, hide his mistakes in the akhirah.
Ameen.
Ya Allah, give him his book of deeds in his right hand.
Ameen.
Ya Allah, make his scales heavy on the day of judgment.
Ameen.
Ya Allah, you know what is in our hearts, you know what is in his hearts, you know all his good intentions that he had. Ya Allah, accept those. But this time, when the deceased is buried, the Prophet ﷺ used to remind the deceased, very soon the angels will be coming to ask him. But not only the angels come, but also the devil comes. The devil is our enemy, just as he was our enemy during our lifetime. He's our enemy when we enter the grave. He's our enemy when we are dying. He comes and tries to take us away from the right path. This is why when the Prophet ﷺ buried somebody, they would stand there and remind them and say, Raditu billahi rabban, that Allah Ta'ala is our Lord. So that when the angels ask our brother, he knows this, but you must remember that when you're put in the grave, you're on your own. You're in a dark place. That's when your heart trembles. That's when you're in a frightening place. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said that once you buried somebody, you should stay by the graveyard for as long as it takes to slaughter a camel and distribute its meat. Now, those people who've done Qurbani know how long it takes just to slaughter a lamb or a goat. Imagine how long it would take to slaughter a camel. That's why we should stay with the deceased, because they get comfort from this. And you remind the deceased of who your Lord is. You remind the deceased what our deen is. Our deen is Islam. And then you remind the deceased who the Prophet ﷺ is, who our messenger was and is. And that's why we stand here and make dua for the deceased. Other people will ask, why do you make dua for somebody who was good? Remember, dua isn't just about forgiveness of sins. It's about elevation of rank. It's about getting close to Allah Ta'ala. And a person can never get enough close to Allah Ta'ala. No matter how pious you are, there is also always levels that you want to attain and get closer to Allah Ta'ala. That's why people who become pious, they do more and more good deeds. For example, the Prophet ﷺ used to stand at night in prayer, and the people said to the Prophet ﷺ, why do you stand so much? Aren't you forgiven? You're the Prophet ﷺ. Their ankles used to get swollen, but they used to say, should I not become a grateful servant? So when we're making dua, it's not just about forgiveness of sins, it's about elevation of ranks. And the thing to remember is, 12 hours ago, our brother was alive. He was breathing, he was part of this world. Within 12 hours, he's in the grave. This tells you an important lesson, that this dunya is not for us. As soon as our breathing stops, we pass on, we finish with this dunya, we finish with this world, we move on to the next world. That's our true abode. And this tells you that we're not for this dunya. So you remember that if we were for this dunya, why are we not keeping him here? But we pass him on to the next realm as soon as possible, because we finish with this dunya. This dunya was here to be used to gain our akhirat, to be used to get close to Allah Ta'ala. Once we finish with this dunya, you move on straight away. That's the important lesson that we remember for ourselves. The other thing you remember is that a lot of people will say that this wasn't your world, the grave is your real home. That's actually not true. It's relative to this dunya. You're on this dunya for what, 50 years? Even if you're in this dunya for 100 years, the time you will spend in the grave is much longer. But that's not your home. We say it's our home because it's relative to the dunya. It's your home. But your real home is akhirat. Allah Ta'ala says, do you not know that you'll be raised from this grave? So just, do you think you've gone into this grave forever? You haven't. One day you'll be raised. Your true abode is the akhirat. And that's what we must always keep in our mind. So may Allah Ta'ala, with the wasila of our brother, that this janazah that we've attended and this burial, give us the ability to remember our akhirat. And through the deeds that we do by coming to this janazah and what we have learned, and if this changes our hearts and changes our lives, may Allah Ta'ala give the reward of this to our brother Perez Iqbal Sahib. Wa sallallahu ta'ala khayri halki wa nuri arshi sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad wa barik wa sallim bi rahmatihi ya